I never thought an accidental email would change everything. But there it was, sitting in my inbox like a ticking bomb, a message that wasn't meant for my eyes. My name is Morgan, and until last Tuesday, I was doing what I always did, working overtime at my marketing job, planning my wedding, and trying to ignore the constant reminders that my younger sister Chloe was my parents' golden child. I probably wouldn't have even seen the email if I hadn't been helping Mom set up her new iPad over FaceTime. "Check if it's syncing properly," she'd said. "Just look for any new emails from me." That's when I saw it, a thread between my parents and Chloe about wedding expenses. I shouldn't have opened it. But something in the subject line caught my eye: financial arrangements, both weddings. "Oh, found it," I said to Mom, my voice steady despite my racing heart. "Everything's syncing fine. I'll let you go now." I waited until the FaceTime call ended before scrolling through the exchange. With each word, my stomach twisted tighter. "Of course we'll cover Chloe's entire wedding," Dad had written. "The Plaza venue alone is worth every penny. She deserves her dream day." Mom's reply came next: "Agreed. Morgan's still paying off her student loans anyway, so she'll understand why we can't help with hers. She's always been the practical one. The practical one. Code for the boring one. The responsible one. The one who didn't need their help because she could handle everything herself." My phone buzzed, a text from Ethan, my fiancé: "Having dinner with your sister tonight to discuss wedding planning. She's got great ideas for both our ceremonies." I stared at his message, then back at the email thread. Chloe hadn't mentioned any dinner plans with Ethan. Then again, there were probably lots of things Chloe wasn't mentioning. The familiar weight of being the overlooked daughter pressed against my chest. But this time, something else bubbled up alongside it: anger. Hot, clear, liberating anger. I opened my laptop and started a new document. At the top, I typed, "Wedding budget, Plan B." Below it, I began listing everything I'd need to create a wedding that was entirely my own, without a cent from my parents. My phone buzzed again. "Chloe, can't wait to show you my wedding plans tomorrow. You're going to die when you see what Mom and Dad are giving me." I smiled at my screen, but it wasn't a happy smile. For the first time in my life, I didn't feel like being the practical one anymore. Tomorrow's family dinner was going to be interesting. The family dinner started exactly how I expected, with Chloe commanding everyone's attention. She'd barely sat down before spreading wedding magazines across Mom's antique dining table, pointing out elaborate flower arrangements and custom place settings that probably cost more than my monthly rent. "The Plaza has this amazing crystal chandelier package," she gushed. "Daddy, you'll love how it photographs." I pushed my untouched salmon around my plate, counting backward from 10. The email thread from yesterday felt like it was burning a hole in my phone, sitting heavy in my pocket. "Morgan, honey," Mom said, "maybe you could get some ideas for your wedding too. Something more budget-friendly." That was it. The match that lit the fuse. "Actually," I said, setting down my fork with a careful click, "I'd love to talk about wedding budgets." The room went quiet. Even Chloe stopped mid-sentence about imported peonies. "I saw the email thread," I continued, my voice steadier than I felt. "About how you're handling both weddings." Dad suddenly became very interested in his water glass. Mom's smile froze in place. "Oh, that," Chloe waved her hand dismissively. "Morgan, you know how it is. You're so good with money, and I'm just terrible at saving. It makes sense for them to help me more." "Does it?" I looked at my parents. "Does it make sense that I'm still paying off the student loans you promised to help with, while Chloe gets a six-figure wedding?" "Now, Morgan," Dad started, but Mom cut him off. "Your sister has different needs," she said firmly. "We're just trying to be fair." I laughed, a sharp, bitter sound that surprised even me. Fair? When was the last time anything in this family was fair? "You're being dramatic," Chloe rolled her eyes. Besides, Ethan agrees with me about the plaza. He says it's perfect for Ethan? I interrupted. When exactly did you discuss this with my fiancé? A flicker of something, guilt? Worry? Crossed Chloe's face before her perfect smile returned. At dinner last night, of course. Didn't he tell you? My phone buzzed. A text from Grandma Edith. Come see me after dinner, dear. We need to talk. I stood up, my chair scraping against the hardwood floor. You know what? I think I'm done here. With all of it. Morgan, sit down, Mom demanded. We're not finished discussing this. Actually, we are. I grabbed my purse. And by the way, the Plaza has a 2-year waiting list. Funny how you got a booking so quickly, isn't it? I left them sitting there, but not before catching the panic that flashed across Chloe's face. Something wasn't adding up, and I had a feeling Grandma Edith knew exactly what it was. Grandma Edith's house always smelled like lavender and old books. Tonight, though, all I could smell was the truth she was about to serve with her signature chamomile tea. I wasn't sure you'd come, she said, settling into her worn armchair. Not after what happened at dinner. You knew about the Plaza? I asked, wrapping my hands around the warm teacup. I know more than that. She reached for an envelope on her side table. Your sister's been busy these past few months. Not just with wedding planning. Inside the envelope were photos. Chloe and Ethan at a cafe. At a park. Outside what looked like a hotel. In each one, they were sitting too close, laughing too intimately. The timestamp showed a pattern going back 3 months. My teacup clattered against its saucer. How long have you known? Since I saw them at the botanical gardens last month. Grandma's eyes were gentle but firm. I needed proof before I told you. The last photo was taken yesterday. Yesterday. When Ethan said he was working late. My phone buzzed. Ethan, where are you? We need to talk about the wedding budget. Another message followed immediately. Chloe, don't listen to Grandma. She doesn't understand what's really happening. They know I'm here, I said, my voice hollow. They know you're telling me. Grandma nodded. Your sister called me this afternoon, trying to convince me to stay quiet. Said it would ruin everything if you found out now. Found out what exactly? But I already knew. The Plaza's 2-year waiting list. The secret meetings. The way Ethan had been so enthusiastic about Chloe's wedding plans. My phone rang, Ethan again. I answered on speaker. Morgan, baby, listen, he started, his voice urgent. Whatever your grandmother's telling you, it's not what you think. Chloe and I were just planning a surprise for you. A surprise? I laughed, the sound sharp and brittle. Like how you two are planning to announce your engagement at her wedding? The silence on the other end was deafening. How did you, he started. The Plaza booking, I cut in. It's not for Chloe's wedding, is it? It's for yours. In 2 years, after our wedding would have been. More silence. Morgan. His voice cracked. I ended the call and blocked both their numbers in one swift motion. Grandma reached over and squeezed my hand. What are you going to do now? I looked at the photos again, but the pain I expected wasn't there. Instead, I felt something else, something that felt surprisingly like freedom. Now? I smiled, and it felt real. Now I'm going to show them exactly what happens when they underestimate the practical one. 3 weeks after discovering Ethan's betrayal, I found myself sitting in a coffee shop across from my mother. Watching her stir her 4th sugar packet into her latte. She'd been talking for 20 minutes, but I hadn't heard a word. The invitations are already printed, she was saying. Everyone's expecting both weddings. What will people think if you just cancel my fake wedding so my sister can marry my ex-fiancé? I interrupted, keeping my voice low despite the anger bubbling in my chest. I don't know, Mom. What will they think? She flinched. That's not fair. Chloe's devastated about how this happened. Is she devastated about what happened, or that she got caught? Before she could answer, my phone lit up with a text from an unknown number. A photo appeared, Ethan and Chloe, kissing in what looked like an engagement photo shoot. The message below read, "Thought you should see the happy couple's announcement before it hits social media tomorrow." My hands shook as I turned the phone toward Mom. Her face went pale. They weren't supposed to announce anything until after the holidays, she whispered. We had a plan. We? The word hung between us like poison. You knew? You helped them plan this? Mom reached for my hand. I pulled back. Sweetheart, we just wanted to minimize the scandal. If we handled it carefully, nobody would have to get hurt. I laughed, a hollow, broken sound that made nearby customers turn their heads. Nobody had to get hurt? I spent 6 years with him. 6 years planning a future while he was falling in love with my sister. And you knew? It's complicated, she started, but I was already standing up. Actually, it's very simple, I said, gathering my things. You chose her. Again. Like you always have. Morgan, please. Her voice cracked. What about the family? What about appearances? I paused, my hand on my chair. You know what, Mom? For the first time in my life, I don't care about appearances. Or what people will think. Or about being the good, practical daughter who makes things easier for everyone else. What are you going to do? I thought about the invitation to Chloe's engagement party sitting on my kitchen counter. The one where they planned to announce their new love story to everyone we knew. I'm going to stop playing by your rules, I said, feeling lighter than I had in weeks. And maybe it's time everyone knew what following those rules really costs. I left her there, calling after me. But I didn't look back. Not this time. Chloe's engagement party at the Plaza was everything I expected: crystal chandeliers, champagne fountains. And my sister wearing the exact dress I'd picked for my own engagement photos. The irony wasn't lost on me. I hadn't planned to come. But Grandma Edith's words echoed in my head: sometimes the strongest thing you can do is show up and smile. So here I was, watching Ethan and Chloe work the room like royalty, their practice story ready for anyone who asked. We just fell in love. These things happen. Morgan understands. Quite the fairy tale, a familiar voice said beside me. I turned to find James, Ethan's best friend and would have been best man, nursing a whiskey. The happy couple's version, anyway, I replied. He glanced around before lowering his voice. You know there's more to it, right? The timing of all this? Before I could ask what he meant, Chloe clinked her glass for attention. The room hushed as she and Ethan took center stage. We have a special announcement, she beamed. The Plaza had a cancellation for next month, and we've decided to move up the wedding. Why wait when you found true love? The crowd awed. My mother dabbed at her eyes with a monogrammed handkerchief. A month, James muttered. Convenient. Something in his tone made me turn. What do you know? He hesitated, then pulled out his phone. Check your email in 5 minutes. Some things you should see. I watched him slip away as Chloe continued her speech about destiny and perfect timing. My phone buzzed, an email with attachments. The first was a doctor's note confirming a pregnancy, dated 2 months ago. The second was a series of texts between Ethan and Chloe, discussing how to handle the situation without anyone finding out their affair had started long before I discovered them. The third was a bank statement showing a large transfer from my parents to Ethan's account, dated the day after I found out about them. My hands shook as I looked up. Across the room, Chloe caught my eye. Her smile faltered as she saw my phone. And of course, she rushed on, we want to thank my dear sister Morgan for being so understanding about everything. The room turned to me, faces full of sympathy and expectation. Waiting for the good, practical daughter to play her part one last time. I stood up slowly, my chair scraping against the marble floor. The sound echoed in the sudden silence. "Actually," I said, my voice carrying clearly across the room, "I think it's time for my own announcement." Chloe's champagne glass slipped from her fingers, shattering against the floor. The silence after my announcement felt eternal. I just revealed everything, the affair's timeline, the pregnancy, the payoff, watching the perfect facade crumble in real time. "You're lying," Chloe whispered, but her face had gone chalk white. I held up my phone. "Want me to forward these emails to everyone here? The doctor's note? The bank transfers?" Mom stepped forward, reaching for my arm. "Morgan, please. Think about what you're doing to this family." "Family?" I laughed, the sound harsh even to my own ears. "Was it family when you paid Ethan to keep quiet about the affair? When you helped them plan their wedding while I was still picking out my dress?" Dad finally spoke up. "We were trying to protect everyone." "No," I said, my voice steady despite the trembling in my hands. "You were protecting her. Like always." Ethan moved toward me, that familiar charming smile in place. "Morgan, baby, let's talk about this privately. There's so much you don't understand." "I understand perfectly." I turned to the stunned crowd. "The affair started 8 months ago. The pregnancy? 2 months. Do the math. They're rushing the wedding because they need to make it look legitimate." Gasps rippled through the room. Someone dropped another glass. "You promised," Chloe hissed at Ethan. "You said you handled those records." "Enough." Mom's voice cracked like a whip. "Everyone out. Now. This is a private family matter." As the guests fled, I felt a strange lightness. I'd finally done it, blown up their perfect little world. Then Grandma Edith's hand gripped my shoulder. "Was this what you really wanted, dear?" I looked around the destroyed party. Chloe sobbing in the corner. Mom comforting her while Dad wrote checks to smooth things over with the venue. Ethan nowhere to be seen, he'd slipped out during the chaos. "I wanted them to hurt like I hurt," I whispered. "And do you feel better?" I didn't. The revenge I'd imagined would be satisfying felt hollow. Empty. My phone buzzed, a text from James. "Ethan just cleared out your joint account." "All of it." "He's gone." The room spun. 6 years of savings. The down payment for my new apartment. Everything. "I have to go," I mumbled, pushing past concerned faces. Outside, rain soaked through my dress as I fumbled for my keys. Behind me, I heard Chloe's voice. "Are you happy now? You've ruined everything." Maybe she was right. Maybe I'd ruined everything, not just for them, but for myself too. I drove away from the plaza, away from my family, away from the wreckage I'd created. I had nowhere to go, no money, no plan. For the first time in my life, I was truly alone. 3 months after the engagement party disaster, I was rebuilding my life piece by piece. New apartment, new job, new savings account. Then Chloe showed up at my door at midnight, mascara streaking her face. "He's gone," she choked out. "Ethan's gone." I almost shut the door, but something in her expression stopped me. This wasn't the polished, perfect sister I knew. This was someone broken. "He took everything," she continued, hands shaking as she pulled out her phone. "The wedding funds, Mom and Dad's money, even the baby's savings account. He was never going to marry me." I let her in, watching her collapse onto my second-hand couch. The irony wasn't lost on me, both of us betrayed by the same man, both of us left with nothing. "Did you know?" she whispered. "That night at the party, did you know he was planning this?" "No." I handed her a glass of water. "But I'm not surprised. He was always good at telling people what they wanted to hear." She looked up, really looked at me, maybe for the first time in years. "I'm sorry, Morgan." Not just about Ethan. About everything. Don't. No, let me finish. She straightened up. I've spent my whole life taking what was yours. The attention, the support, even your fiancé. I thought if I could just be perfect enough, be better than you at everything, then maybe. Then maybe what? Then maybe I'd finally feel like I deserved any of it. The silence stretched between us, heavy with years of competition and resentment. My phone buzzed, a text from James, tracked Ethan to Mexico. He's trying to move the money offshore. Police want to know if you'll testify. Chloe saw the message and stood up. I should go. You probably want to see him arrested after what he did to you. What he did to us, I corrected, making a decision I never thought I'd make. The money he stole was from both of us. Want to help me take him down? She stared at me, then slowly smiled, not her usual perfect smile, but something real and a little broken. You trust me? After everything? No, I said honestly. But maybe it's time we both stopped letting Ethan Walker decide who we are. I forwarded James's message to my lawyer, then looked at my sister, really looked at her. Behind the designer clothes and careful makeup, I saw something familiar, a woman trying to rebuild herself from scratch. So, I said, want to help your big sister get some justice? For the first time in our lives, we were on the same side. And somehow, that felt better than revenge ever could. 2 years later, I stood in front of a different mirror in a different wedding dress. This time, everything felt right. You look perfect, Grandma Edith said, adjusting my veil. Lucas won't know what hit him. I smiled, catching sight of Chloe in the reflection as she entered with my bouquet. She'd changed in the past 2 years, we both had. After helping the authorities recover most of the money Ethan stole, she'd started working at a domestic violence shelter. Turning her experience into something meaningful. The photographer's ready, she said, then paused. Mom and Dad are here. They're sitting in the back. I nodded, unsurprised. We'd maintained a careful distance since everything happened, but they were trying, in their own way, to understand the daughters they actually had. Not the ones they'd imagined. You don't have to give them any special attention, Chloe added quickly. It's your day. I know. And I did know, finally. My happiness didn't depend on their approval anymore. The ceremony was everything I'd dreamed of, simple, sincere, surrounded by people who truly cared. Lucas's vows made me laugh and cry, and when he kissed me, I felt complete in a way I never had with Ethan. At the reception, I noticed Mom approaching my table, clutching her purse like a shield. Morgan, she started, I know we haven't. That is, your father and I. It's okay, Mom, I said gently. We don't have to fix everything today. She nodded, tears in her eyes, and pulled out an envelope. This is for you. From your grandmother's estate. My heart stopped. Grandma Edith had passed away 3 months ago, leaving me with her final words of wisdom. True strength isn't in getting even, dear. It's in moving forward. Inside the envelope was a letter, written in her familiar handwriting, My dearest Morgan. I've watched you grow from a girl seeking approval into a woman who knows her own worth. Your sister needed to learn who she was without your parents' favor, and you needed to learn who you were despite its absence. I'm proud of you both for finding your way back to each other, and to yourselves. Love, Grandma. Attached was a deed to her house, left jointly to Chloe and me. Later, as Lucas and I danced our first dance, I caught sight of my sister talking with our parents, her head held high, her perfect mask finally gone. We'd both lost so much, but somehow gained something more valuable, the truth of who we were. Happy? Lucas asked, pulling me closer. I looked around at my imperfect, reconstructed family, thinking about Grandma's house and the future it represented, not just a building, but a chance for 2 sisters to build something new from the ashes of what they'd lost. Yes, I said. Finally.